Hey everyone, while Ford and Chrysler are doing who knows what, it's time to take a closer look at Chinese cars. There's already a lot of interesting stuff popping up there. Just a reminder, my name is Tyler. Let's figure out these automotive wonders together.
So, let's dive straight into the Cherry Arizo 8's color options. We've got a pretty decent range, although it could always be bigger, right? We're looking at classic choices like white, gray, and black, the ever-popular safe bets. But Cherry also throws in a bit of a curveball with a green option, which I personally think is a really nice touch. It adds a bit of personality, a bit of flair that you don't always see in this segment. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the color choices in the comments below. Are there any colors you wish they offered? Maybe a vibrant blue or a sophisticated burgundy? Let me know. Now let's talk about the paint quality. This is where things get interesting. Cherry has positioned the Arizo 8 as a step up, aiming for a more premium feel. And honestly, the paint job reflects that ambition to a certain degree. The finish is quite smooth, with a nice depth of color. I've spent some time inspecting the car closely, looking for imperfections, and I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. There's a noticeable lack of orange peel effect, which is often a problem with cheaper paints. The color is consistent across the panels, and there are no visible blemishes or inconsistencies that I could find. Of course, this is just my observation from a few test drives and close inspections. Your experience might vary slightly depending on the specific car and the manufacturing process. However, it's not perfect. While the finish is generally good, it's not quite at the level of some truly premium brands. You can find cars from higher-end manufacturers that boast an even more flawless, almost glassy finish. The Arizo 8's paint feels solid and durable, but it lacks that extra layer of refinement you'd expect from, say, a German luxury car. It's a good paint job, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite premium in the strictest sense of the word. It's a solid 8 out of 10, I'd say. What do you think? Let's discuss it in the comments. Have you had a chance to see the Arizo 8 in person? What are your thoughts on the paint quality? Okay, let's dive straight into the Cherry Arizo 8's paintwork. One of the first things I wanted to check was whether the body is galvanized. Now, galvanization is a huge deal when it comes to rust prevention. It's a process where a protective zinc coating is applied to the steel body panels, acting as a barrier against moisture and oxygen, the main culprits behind rust. So, I spent some time really examining the Arizo 8, looking for any signs of galvanization. I checked various areas, including the undercarriage, the wheel wells, and even some hidden areas that are usually not visible. What I found was, well, it's a bit tricky to say definitively without specialized equipment. Visually, I couldn't see any obvious signs of a zinc coating, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not there. Some manufacturers use very thin coatings that are difficult to spot with the naked eye. I'd recommend checking the official Cherry documentation or contacting a Cherry dealership for confirmation on this point. It's crucial information for long-term durability. Next up, let's talk about the panel gaps and joints. This is a great indicator of overall build quality. Consistent and tight panel gaps are a sign of precise manufacturing and a well-built car. I carefully inspected the gaps around the doors, hood, and trunk lid. Overall, I found the gaps to be reasonably consistent across most panels. There were a few minor inconsistencies here and there, but nothing alarming. Nothing that would make me think the car was poorly assembled. However, it's worth noting that even small variations in panel gaps can be noticeable, especially if you're someone who pays close attention to these details. I'd say the Arizo 8's panel gaps fall within an acceptable range for a car in its class. But remember, this is just my observation. Your experience might vary slightly. Finally, let's address the anti-corrosion and anti-gravel protection. This is another critical aspect of a car's long-term durability, especially if you live in an area with harsh weather conditions or frequently drive on rough roads. The underbody coating is a key part of this protection. I took a look at the undercarriage of the Arizo 8, and I found a decent amount of undercoating applied to various components. It wasn't the thickest or most comprehensive undercoating I've ever seen, but it seemed sufficient to offer a reasonable level of protection against rust and stone chips. Again, the effectiveness of this protection will depend on various factors, including the environment and driving conditions. It's definitely something to keep in mind if you're considering buying the Arizo 8, especially if you live in a particularly harsh climate. Remember to regularly inspect the undercarriage for any signs of damage or corrosion. Early detection is key to preventing more serious problems down the line. So, is the paintwork truly premium? Based on my observations, I'd say it's good, but not necessarily premium in the sense of exceeding expectations. It's a solid, reliable finish, but there's room for improvement in certain areas.